is a report I have been trying to get to you guys for a couple months now. Okay. This is the G20 report that came out a couple months ago, guys. And this report, ever since it's come out, everything has played out according to plan. I'll just say that. And I've tried to get this to you beforehand. And I think it didn't come yet because the timing wasn't there for it. But we need to know this stuff before we go into 2022. So that's why in this video, guys, we're going to break down this G20 report. Okay. Now, the way I have it set up here, I have annotations, details, and everything. So that way it makes it a little bit easier for us to focus on what we're talking about. But essentially, guys, the focus here, the G20 is an international forum that brings together the world's major economies. The members account for more than 80% of the world's gross domestic product, 75% of global trade, 60% of the population of the planet by representation. This forum was created in 1999 and has met every year since 2008, a yearly summit with the participation of respective heads of state and government. Okay. In addition to the summit, ministerial meetings, Sherpa meetings in charge of carrying out negotiations and building consensus, working groups, and special events are organized throughout the year. This is the group. When they say they, this is they. Okay. Now, origins, like we mentioned. In 1999, in the wake of the 1997 economic crisis, the G7 finance ministers announced the creation of the Group of 20, aimed at including other countries in their discussions related to global economics and finance. The first official meeting of the G20 was held in Berlin in December that same year. Following the 2008 financial crisis, the United States proposed to increase the level of participation of the G20 heads of state. Now, you notice I'll highlight economic crisis in 97, financial crisis in 2008. That's when they tend to come together, right? At 2009, Pittsburgh summit, the heads of state and government decided to institutionalize the G20 as a main forum for global economic and financial cooperation. So in 2009, same year as the initial, the origins of Bitcoin, they all came together and they made their focus financial on the economy. Okay. The G20 have met every year since 2010. Now, who are the participants? This is important to know because a lot of these nations we've seen before. The members include Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, France, Germany, Japan, and India, Indonesia, Italy, Mexico, Russia, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Turkey, United Kingdom, United States, and the European Union. And Spain was also invited to become a permanent guest. Each year, the presidency invites guest countries which take full part in the G20 exercise. Several international and regional organizations also participate, granting the forum an even broader representation. Now, what's important to take away from this participants page is that all of these countries have banks. They have central banks. Okay. What are we hearing the most right now? Central bank digital currencies, central banks, digital assets, so forth and so on. They're coming into the space. This is where they're coming from. Now, the G20 has made enhancing cross-border payments a priority. I highlighted this first sentence because that's the most important one. We know this. We see this playing out. They have made enhancing cross-border payments a priority. So we know what the game plan is in 2022, guys. So essentially what they want: faster, cheaper, and more transparent and more inclusive cross-border payment services, including remittances, while maintaining safety and security, would have widespread benefits for citizens and economies worldwide, supporting economic growth, international trade, global development, and financial inclusion. There's that word again. Not that I'm against financial inclusion, don't get me wrong, but This is how you decipher the messages of crypto. Okay. The financial, the FSB coordinates the implementation of the roadmap through its cross border payments coordination group, or the CPC, and reports on progress to the G20. Each individual building block is being taken forward by the bodies or bodies specified in the roadmap, notably CPMI, FSB, and other relevant international organizations and standard setting bodies. International organizations and standards. Yes, we're talking ISO here. Now, the executive summary. This is coming from the PDF, the roadmap for enhancing cross-border payments. Okay. Priority initiative of the G20. Work in 2020 and 2021 has so far primarily focused on laying the foundational elements for the future roadmap actions. Oh, trust me, guys, it's going to get better. The key part of that foundation has been the publication of specific targets set at global level that quantify the roadmap's goals of addressing the challenges of cost, speed, transparency, and access faced by cross-border payments. Cost, speed, and transparency. All right. These targets play an important role in defining the ambition of the work, creating accountability. The targets, which are summarized in this report, have benefited from responses to a public consultation earlier this year. This will be earlier in 2021, and will be made fully operational in 2022 through the development of the implementation approach to monitoring progress towards them. Okay. So essentially, they have a plan, they have a roadmap, but this isn't just a hypothetical, theoretical roadmap. This is a plan of action. All right, let's get to it. Now, most of the milestones set by the roadmap for 2021 have been successfully completed or are close to finalization. The breadth of the work underway and the recognition of the importance of conducting sufficient external outreach has led to some of the timelines being a bit extended. But the end goal of the overall roadmap remained firmly on track, taking forward the roadmap's 19 interrelated building blocks. Okay, this is a 19-step plan, guys. While the more exploratory building blocks, i.e., central bank digital currencies and stable coins, understandably have triggered particular outside attention. It is equally important to make progress on the more fundamental operational and technical areas, i.e., liquidity bridges, or ISO 222 messaging format. It says the next stage of work in 2022 compromises not only further analysis, but the development of specific proposals for material improvements of underlying systems and arrangements for increased adoption of payment versus payment, peer-to-peer. Okay, as well as the development of new systems. So this is something else that I have been seeing over and over again. This one sentence. It's the improvements of the underlying financial infrastructure, improving of the system. It's the underlying theme here. Now, next, I'm going to show you this slide. Okay, because this slide indicates where the money is coming from that's pushing this forward. Now, this is not going to name any names, but it's going to reveal to us that there are, in fact, a wide range of stakeholders with money invested in this outcome. Okay. Regular engagement between the public and private sectors is necessary to ensure the building blocks produce recommendations and actions that command industry support, secure timely investment where needed, and deliver tangible enhancements to cross-border payments by the end of 2027. Over the course of the year, the work involved close collaboration with the private and involvement of a wide range of private and public sector stakeholders who shared their insights and expertise. Who knows who that could be, honestly? They would never reveal that information, but it must be known that there is a range of private and public sector stakeholders. So there are people that we may know that are involved, And then there's a lot more people that we don't know that are involved with this. But this involvement and experience forms an important input to the work on the different building blocks and has been incorporated into the first progress report. Stakeholder engagement in 2021 has included international conferences such as the CPMI March 2021 conference, Pushing the Frontiers of Payments, and the September 2021 Banca Italia international webinar on enhancing digital and global infrastructures held in the context of its G20 presidency. So, earlier in the year, I began to tell you guys that October was going to be a very important month. Okay. It was because of the G20 summit. It was hosted in Italy this year. So that's when they say, in the context of the presidency, they were the nominated one for this year. Okay. Now let's move forward and talk about this roadmap. First, we're going to go over what was achieved this year. Now, right away, first thing we have covered here is AML, CFT, and KYC requirements harmonization. What have we seen the most this year besides DeFi, metaverse recently? But the one thing that we've been hearing all year is anti-money laundering, KYC, anti-money laundering, KYC. That was all part of the plan. Now, next circle. Around March, the tech sprint on APIs for ISO 222. So that meant that what we're seeing here essentially was the APIs developed to be that will allow communication with the new messaging standard. Okay. That was being built in the background. And then some of the other things that we see here in December of 2020, payment versus payment settlement, May of 2021, stock take availability, also payment system access assessment, so forth and so on. They were exploring things. Okay. They were really exploring things. Now, what's crazy is that we still have something to look forward to for the rest of this month. Shared or interoperable regional CDD framework. Okay. Also, 12/20/2021, the implementation of standards. We're seeing a lot of regulation come into play. Okay. A lot of focus on how to classify all this money and what these assets are, so forth and so on. We're going to see some standards put into place by the end of this month. Just watch that, guys. Now, let's go into 2022. Let's go into 2022, guys, because this is when it really gets interesting. It's when it really gets interesting. The first thing that I have circled here, what I want to show you, it's going to take us to the end of 2022. We're going to start at the end, work our way back. By December of 2022, digital ID solution proposals. Okay. What that means is that leading up into this, we're going to see all decentralized identity blockchains come into the space. Okay. It's going to be just as hot as the metaverse or DeFi or NFTs, your decentralized identity platform. This is why when Digibyte and DigiCorp Labs came into existence, and I read that white paper and I saw what was being planned. Yeah. That's what confirmed it, guys. Now, in June of 2020, here's what we have to look forward to. Global standard for the ISO format. So that means that within the next 6 months, ladies and gentlemen, ISO 222 will be in full implementation, and it will be in full implementation around the globe. Okay. Now, after that, and I found this timeline very unique, but it makes sense looking at the bigger picture. Design study for multi-CBDC arrangements. Okay, we already see the groundworks, the base level for that right now. Okay, actually covered a couple of stories about it this week. But by the end of next year, by this time next year, guys, CBDCs are going to be so close to us. Man, it's just going to be unavoidable at that point. But Some of the other things that are going to come along with 2022, guys, we have, of course, the ISO 222. But in July, we're looking at interlinking frameworks. There's your interoperability. But another thing that is also in the cards for 2022 is the P versus P, payment versus payment, which I am understanding as being peer to peer. Essentially, the key word here is payment. Okay. Payment to payment systems. We have been thinking about payment coins. We've been focusing on payment coins for the better part of the year. So that would mean that in 2022, what we have been waiting for may be on the horizon, guys, because the focus is P versus P adoption proposals, payment system access and best practices, payment versus payment implementation plan coming for November. So that's what we have to look forward to in 2022, guys. CBDCs, peer-to-peer payments. All right. And of course, the ISO messaging format. Now, with that roadmap, what is it all going to look like? Well, block 8, we already know. Fostering KYC and identity sharing, we have that. But this actually illustrates an entire facility that may be coming focused on complete KYC. So this may illustrate that there may be KYC focused buildings, okay, where you would go and do this, and then that information is stored on a decentralized platform somehow. But the South Pacific Central Banks are investigating a possible regional Know Your Customer facility targeted at low risk retail remittances. Governors in the South Pacific regions agreed in 2020 of November to continue this work, but no commitment has been made to implement a regional KY facility as yet. Central banks of Australia, New Zealand, Tonga, Samoa, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, Papua New Guinea, Timor, and Fiji, and several multinational agencies are helping to support this work. Really quick here, Fiji. Guys, what happened with Stellar Lumens and Fiji? Stellar Lumens in September held a hackathon, a developer conference, where they gave out a few grants. One of those grants included a project that was going to build a stablecoin for Fiji. Okay, got to keep it all together, guys. During 2021, the project team has been consulting with key banks and money transfer organizations in Australia, New Zealand, and the Pacific about design requirements and general viability of the KYC facility. The project team has also been consulting with government organizations in the Pacific with the World Bank, the IMF, and other international organizations that are doing the work on digital ID databases in the region. Okay. Now, these ambitious targets set the expectations for the outcomes to be delivered by the overall roadmap. For instance, the targets of lowering the global average cost of cross-border retail payments to 1% or ensuring recipients receive the fund within 1 hour by the end of 2027. This will require ongoing public and private sector commitment, as well as substantial upgrades of the underlying payments infrastructure. At the same time, development of new payment systems and arrangements may contribute to improvements required. 2027. They plan on having this all roll out in the next 5 years. Next 5 years, guys. The transition to a digital economy, a blockchain based economy, is going to occur in the next 5 years. And 2022 is the launch pad. It's the launch pad, guys. Now, this one is something else we've been seeing coming to the discussion recently. Fostering the soundness of global stablecoin arrangements for cross-border payments. With the emergence of stablecoins, the International Regulatory Committee has sought to further understand these new entrants and potential risks that may pose to the financial system, as well as the potential role of well-designed global stablecoin arrangements in improving global cross-border payments, and have called upon the standard-setting bodies as needed to make any revisions to standards and principles or provide further guidance supplementing existing standards and principles. Okay, what have we been hearing? for the last few months when it comes to stablecoins. We already know Circle, Tether, that thing, right? But in recent months, Circle has become closer to the banks. Tether also becoming closer to the banks. Now we've had the FDIC get involved with the discussion, the Commodity Futures and Trading Commission, the SEC, and they're all trying to, oh, not to mention the president's working group on stablecoins. We have that now. And they're all trying to find ways to make stablecoins just like fiat or incorporate stablecoins into this system. This is why. Now, against this background, the CPMI and the IOSCO, as joint standard setting bodies for systematically important payment systems and other FMIs, have over the past 18 months assessed stablecoin arrangements, against the principles for financial market infrastructures and produced a consultation report. As a next step, CPMI and IOSCO have published a report with the aim to finalize the proposed guidance in Q1 of 2022. To date, SAs have not been implemented broadly on a global scale from a policy perspective. There is value in assessing whether and how to use well-designed global stablecoin arrangements could enhance cross-border payments. Now, yes, we haven't seen anything come into the fold yet. But again, we're seeing the groundwork being laid for this. Okay. Every time I hear or see stable coins in the headlines, USDC or USDC or US Tether, okay, I go back to this report. And then it also brings to mind another asset that's been making a lot of noise too is Terra. One thing that not a lot of people talk about with Terra is that they have a stable coin, an algorithmic stable coin, and it's theirs. And it's also backed by, I want to say, DAI and Ethereum, or there may be some commercial paper involved there. But essentially, this is going to bring all the assets, blockchains, with stable coins attached to them into the public, into the, bring them to the attention of the retail investors. This is why. Okay. Now, lastly, factoring in international dimension into CBDC design, guys. Simply put, this is who's going to be involved. As an initial action, the CPMI, in collaboration with the Bank of International Settlements Innovation Hub, the IMF, World Bank, conducted a stock take of provisional domestic CBDC designs and central bank experimentation to determine to which extent they could be used for cross-border payments. Central banks have started collaborating on several projects and studies to consider internationally coordinated CBDC arrangements to enhance cross-border payments. So, the reason why we're seeing them pop up in individual countries is because the next stage is to connect them all. Again, bringing us back to the importance of interoperability. Okay. Now, that was the entire report, guys. Now, what I want to leave you with, okay, what I want to leave you with here is this is the roadmap. This is the blueprint, if you will. Of course, send me an email. A couple of you guys have gotten this already, but you know how we do it, much like with the Bank of America report. You send me an email, I will get this to you. I will get you the full version too. So that way you can really deep dive into this, because documents like this reveal which industries, which sectors are going to be the hottest in 2022. And I'm telling you, decentralized identity, guys, it's going to be a hot topic. Okay. It's going to be a hot topic because it lays right on top of Web 3.0. And we know that's being accelerated in the discussion as well. Also, with the metaverse, you're going to need identification to get in there. Thank you very much, DigiCorp. So, with all that being said, guys, I'm glad I could finally get this video out. I really am. And the timing of it was perfect. Okay. Right before 2022. I wanted to get this video out before I did my list for 2022, my Elite 8, because this is a prerequisite. This is the prerequisite to it, because the motivation for why I chose the 8 that I chose for 2022 stems from the information in this report. Okay. Last year, for this year, 2021, the coins I picked were based on my personal feelings at the time. But ladies and gentlemen, it has been quite the year. And I've seen and learned so much this year. So now my choices, my assumptions are a bit more strong, built more in concrete. Okay. I know where this world is heading. And for the past year, I have watched all the narratives, the tributaries be laid. Follow the money is what they say. That's what we're doing here. So with all that being said, though, guys, of course, if you found value, hit the like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so that way you never miss another one. And I know this video was long, so if you stuck around to the end, from the bottom of my heart, from my family to yours, I want to thank you. I want to thank you, because then you stuck around to the end, and that means that this knowledge means something to you. Okay. And that's important. That's important. So again, you know what I'm going to tell you. Have a great day. Have a prosperous day. Most importantly, we making this money. I'll see y'all in the next.